the right different solutions. They're all out there for you. They're yours to mash up, yours to tweak, yours to steal, and as it gets later, they're yours to just sort of create from scratch. And not just in the research phase, as I mentioned, but also in the actual deliverables that you make during the design process. For every project, you need to be creative about which techniques you use to solve the design problem, and which techniques you don't need to use that maybe you sort of use because that's the way you always do it. In other words, designing your own design process. And there's a reason for this. There's so many new technologies, especially right now. I think we're in this weird pivotal moment right now where there's so many new technologies that are reaching maturity right now. Touch and gesture interfaces, voice recognition is reaching maturity, image and facial recognition is just about there, motion capture, game mechanics as a way of structuring an interactive experience through sort of achievement rewards and things like that. We're finding that the sort of traditional deliverables of information architecture, like sitemaps and wireframes, right? These aren't up to the task of designing user experiences that are based on gestures. They're not up to tasks of voice response interfaces or game design, where there's so many moving parts. Sometimes, we're constantly using more and more brand new technologies. Why should our deliverables be just as new and just as evolving over time? So looking back at the old methodology slide, there's a reason we have methodologies, right? We don't want to necessarily throw away having a process. If you work for a consultancy like I do, clients come to us because they want you to have a process. They don't want you to say, oh yeah, we'll just figure it out. Just tell us what your problem is, and we'll come back to you in 6 months with a website. They want to see progress. They want to know where the checkpoints are. They want to know what deliverables they're going to see when they're shopping for different firms or different designers. They want to be able to compare apples to apples. So they want to know that if you say you're doing personas and you say you're doing personas, they want to know what those are. And they also want to know what kind of super fun design creative meetings they're going to see and what are the fun things that are going to be delivered to them. While we have, so it's okay to have like an overarching structure, but I also would think that everything that's in that structure, your toolkit, needs to be very broad. The weapons you use to sort of attack a design problem need to be very diverse. And then when you are planning the process, you choose just the weapons that you need. So you have far more than 2 weapons. And this is an interesting diagram by Peter Morville and Jeffrey Callender, sort of showing a sort of treasure map style visualization of a UX design deliverable inventory. And it's sort of mapped out as a trail. And yeah, there's sort of a linearity to this, but I think that representing UX design as this linear path isn't exactly how we should be thinking. Of course, there's a lot more to it than these, but you probably aren't even using all of these deliverables. Some of these I'm not either, but it's always nice to see a whole bunch of them kind of spread out on the wall. And that's what I think is valuable about sort of visualizing your toolkit spread out in front of you. There's some really great techniques for that out there. IDEO has long been made these things they call method cards. It's a deck of 52 cards. Each card describes a design research method. Like, for example, predicting next year's headlines. So it's sort of, you can imagine what your product would be like if it was in the news next year. It's a great way of sort of visualizing what it will be. Or card sorting, a very familiar sort of standard exercise asking users to sort concepts into groups and batches and hierarchies using index cards. And there's like 52 of these, and they're really great because you can sort of browse through it and find inspiration for how to attack a design problem. They're based on, I think the root of all this is Brian Eno and Peter Schmidt in the 1970s created this deck of cards called oblique strategies, which are basically just sort of writer's block, creative block solving problems. So, and just for jump starting you in creative blocks. So, and by the way, there's an app for that.